Hello, my name is Mr. Fontenot. I want to welcome you to my YouTube page, Mr. Fontenot 1111. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy this video or you have anything you'd like to share with me, please leave a comment below. Some things you will need for this video: something to write with, something to write on. You're going to want to take some notes. You're going to need a calculator. I will be using the Casio FX115ES Plus. I'll be using the first generation. You may use the second. You may have the second, which is a little different, but they're basically the same. You can use either one. Then you're either going to want to print or write down the information on these handouts I'm fixing to show you here and talk about, and I'll tell you what exactly you need to write down from the handouts. Number one is the resistor color code. Number two will be the resistors to calculate. Number three will be the resistor math handout, where we're going to put our answers. Number four, I have the resistor math handout key, because I want you to be able to check your work as you're going along. And my plan is to take the work that we do on the resistor math handout, and once we've got all the work done, we will put it into the answer sheet. The assignment is actually called Chapter 3 Math Handout Answer Sheet. And let me show you what that looks like. So from your Canvas page, you will locate the assignment, Chapter 3 Math Handout Answer Sheet. When you click on it, you'll have some directions here you can follow before you start the quiz. And we're going to fill in the blanks from the handout that we're going to do in this video. I want you to notice that my rounding rule is we're going to go two numbers after the decimal. So if it's, for example, 2.836, it would be 2.84. If it's 2.834, then it would be 2.83. Okay. Once you hit take the quiz, it's going to open up for you, and then we'll be taking the values from the answer sheet and filling in our blanks here. Taking the values from our handout and filling in the answers here. Alright, so I would suggest pause the video and write down the four handouts that are involved and the title of the assignment. Okay, in this video we're going to be calculating the values in ohms of 4-band fixed resistors using the resistor color code, and we're going to go over the color code in detail here in a minute, and I'll give you an opportunity at that time to pause the video and write it down. This is an example of a 4-band resistor. Some 4-band resistors will only have 3 bands. And if they do, that shows you that if there is no 4th band, that your tolerance percentage in that case would be 20%. The textbook that we're currently using as of the fall of 2022 is and resistance is covered in Chapter 3 of the American Technical Publishers, AC/DC Principles and Applications. It's the 2nd edition. If you want to pause the video and write the ISBN number down, you can. Okay, handout number one that we will be using is the resistor color code. You might want to pause the video and write this information down. And I'll be explaining to you in this video how we use this information. Why do we have a tolerance? Because let's say that we buy a resistor, and that resistor is supposed to be 25 k ohms. And if you look closely at this picture of this digital multimeter that I have here, you'll see that it actually has on it a K. And when I talk to you about metric prefixes and memorizing the metric prefixes, this is why. Because once we get to the point of using a multimeter, and the whole time that you're in the field using a multimeter, it will display numbers in metric prefix. So let's say that we buy a resistor that is 25 k ohms. Yes, we would hope that it would be exactly 25k ohms, but it might not be exactly 25k ohms. So we give it a little bit of a tolerance, and the amount of acceptable tolerance is given to us by the fourth stripe or the fourth band on the resistor. So the one pictured here has a gold stripe, so that would be 5%. So we would calculate 25k ohms. We'd figure out what 5% of 25k ohms is, and you can go 5% below and 5% above 25k ohms and still use the resistor if it has a fourth stripe that is gold. If it has a fourth stripe that is silver, you can go 10% above and below. If it doesn't have a fourth stripe, you can go 20% above and below the value of the resistor that we have calculated. Second handout we're going to be using, and these are the resistors that we'll be referring to do our calculations from. I am going to put a link to all of these handouts in the video description, and there will be a link to all of these handouts on your Canvas page. I am going to zoom in so that if you want to write these values down, you can, or you could just follow that link and open the document with the resistors on it and just have it where you could refer to it. So if you want to write down resistors A through L, matter of fact, you can skip L. You see it's got an X over it. Pause the video and write those values down now. All right, if you want to write the last 6 resistors down, you can. And keep in mind, we're going to skip resistor O. All right, so that is our second handout. The third handout we're going to be using is the math handout itself. Now, if you don't want to print it out or can't print it out, all you need to do, if you want to just copy the most important information, the essential information that you need, is write down this top part and this first column. Your paper would look something like this, where you have resistor value, tolerance percentage, tolerance amount, minimum acceptable resistance, and maximum acceptable resistance. And then you want to write letters A through R on the left-hand column. The ones highlighted in blue are the ones we'll skip. So pause the video now and copy that information down, unless you plan on printing it out. The fourth handout we will be using will be the resistor math handout key. Here's all the values, and you can pause the video and write these values down. There will be a link to this document if you want to just print it out or have it handy on your computer. I understand that you could take these values and just put them straight into your assignment on Canvas, but that's not going to help you out for the test at all, because you're going to need to know how to use the color code. These resistors that I'm showing you here, might want to pause the video, just giving you a chance to do that. But these resistors that I am showing you here, these are not on the test. On the test will be totally different resistors that you've never seen, so you've got to memorize the resistor color code and you got to know how to use it. So for the test, you must have the resistor color code memorized. During your homework, you can have it handy and just refer to it, but for the test, you got to have it memorized. I'm not going to let you use your notes on that for the test. I'll give you scratch paper and you have to write it down from memory. Okay, so I'll be laying my screen out with the color code, the resistors, and the math handout and my calculator, and we'll start doing our calculations. So I have my desktop laid out here, and these are the materials you'll need laid out to calculate your resistors. Somewhere have your color code, somewhere have your sheet of resistors. I'm just zoomed in here to show only one resistor, but it is the whole sheet. And I've got my math handout. Again, I'm just kind of zoomed in on that so that you can see the major parts here. And I've got my calculator handy. So let's do the calculations for resistor A down at the bottom of the screen here, center bottom of your screen. Okay, so I see that my first color is brown, and I understand from my color code that brown corresponds to the number 1. And since it's the first stripe, this tells me my first band is the first number. So on my calculator, I'm going to hit, he's brown, so that's a 1, so I'm going to hit 1, punch number 1. And his second stripe is green. Look at my color code, that corresponds to a number 5, so on your calculator, hit number 5. Third stripe is red, and the thing about the third stripe, it is what we call our multiplier band. It tells us how many zeros to put. So he's red, that corresponds to the number 2 on our color code, so I'm going to put 2 zeros, 0, 0. But don't write that down yet. Our answers have to be in metric prefix. So on your calculator, hit equals, and then when you hit your engineering button, if you look over at the calculator, you'll see me pressing it now, highlighted in blue, engineering, and it's 1.5 times 10 to the third, and if I apply metric prefix to that, that tells me that it is 1.5 k ohms. So the value of my first resistor is 1.5 k ohms. Now I look at the fourth stripe, it is silver. Looking at the color code, silver corresponds to 10%. So the tolerance percentage on my handout is 10%. Now I have to figure out for my tolerance amount, how much is 10% of 1.5 k ohms? Well, this number 1.5 k ohms is really in decimal notation is just 1500, so 10% of 1500 is 150. But if I want to do it on my calculator, and there will be other numbers that are more complex, so let's just do it on our calculator. Look at the calculator. You're going to hit the left scroll wheel. That puts your cursor right behind the number. Times, hit the multiplication sign, and since it's 10%, it will be 0.1, which is 10%. 1% would be 0.01. So 10% is 0.1. It equals 150. So his tolerance amount is 150 ohms. So now what I want to do is subtract 150, this number right here, this 150. I'm going to subtract 150 from the resistor value. So here, 150 is going to be subtracted from the 1.5K. On my calculator, I've already got the 1500, which is the same thing as 1.5K. So hit your left scroll wheel and clear out the 0.1, clear out the multiplication sign, hit subtraction 150. That's our tolerance amount of 150 being subtracted from our resistor value of 1500. Hit equals, hit engineering, and that is 1.35 k ohms, because remember it has to be in metric prefix. So when we measure the resistor with our multimeter, as I had showed you on the slide, when we measure it, he can measure as low as 1.35 k ohms. Now how high can he measure? So we're going to scroll to the left, delete, hit plus, hit equals, hit engineering, and he can read as high as 1.65K ohms. As low as 1.35K, as high as 1.65K. Okay, let's do resistor B. Looking at our second resistor here. First color's red, so on my calculator I'm going to hit a 2. Second color is violet, which corresponds to a 7 on my resistor color code, so I'm going to hit a 7. Third number is black, and remember the third band is how many zeros? Third band corresponds to 0, so I don't put any zeros. 0 zeros. So he's just 27 ohms. If I hit equals, it's 27. If I hit engineering, it's 27 times 10 to the 0, which is just that number. So his value is 27 ohms. 27 ohms. Okay, my fourth band is gold, so his tolerance percentage is going to be 5%. Now I have to figure out what is 5% of 27. So look at the calculator. You're going to scroll left and you're going to say times 0.05, because that's 5%. 50% would be 0.5. 5% is 0.05. It equals, so the tolerance amount is 1.35 ohms. What is his minimum acceptable amount in resistance? So get this out, hit minus 1.35 equals, if I hit engineering, it's just going to be times 10 to the 0, so there's no metric prefix involved with this one, so it's just 25.65 ohms. Make sure on your handout here, you're writing ohms behind each one of these. Now that's on your handout. You will not type ohms into Canvas. Okay, so now we're going to scroll to the left. We're going to delete, hit plus, hit equals, and it is 28.35 ohms. That's how high he can be. So he can be this low and he can be this high. We took this number and we subtracted it from this number. Okay, let's go to resistor C. Okay, yellow, violet, yellow, gold. So the first number that goes into my calculator is a 4. Second number is a 7. Third number, his third band is yellow, and yellow corresponds to 4. So that tells me he gets 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 zeros. I hit equals. I hit engineering, and he is a 470K ohm resistor. 470,000 ohms. 470K ohm resistor. Gold is his fourth stripe, so that tells me 5%. His tolerance is 5%. Now I've got to find out how much 5% is of 470,000, so I hit the left arrow. I'm up top now. I hit times 0.05 because he's 5% for gold. I hit equals. I hit engineering, and so his tolerant amount will be 23.5K ohms. That's his tolerance amount. Now I'm going to take the amount and I'm going to subtract it from his value, and so I'm going to hit my left wheel, delete, 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 put the minus sign in, and I'm going to subtract 23.5. Look at the calculator. So I did 23.5 times the K tells me 10 to the third equals engineering 446.5 K ohms. Okay, now I will scroll to the left, leave the 23.5 K in there, delete the subtraction sign, insert the addition sign, hit equals, hit engineering, and so it's 493.5 K ohms. That's how high his resistance can be. We're going to skip D and we're going to go to E. All right, for E, my first color is white, which corresponds to 9. My second color is brown, which corresponds to 1. My third color is orange, which corresponds to 3 zeros. Orange is 3 zeros. He's the third band. 1, 2, 3. Hit in equals, hit engineering. So he is a 91 K ohm resistor. Putting our answer in metric prefix. Next, we have to find out what is our tolerance percentage. It's gold, so that's 5%. So now we got to figure out what is 5% of 91,000. Hit the left scroll wheel, times 0.05 equals, in engineering, 4.55 K ohms. That's 5%. Now we've got to subtract 4.55 K ohms from 91 K ohms. So we're going to scroll up, clear out this information, hit the subtraction sign, and we got to punch in 4.55 K. So we go 4.55. Make sure you hit the exponent button down here, times 10 to the third equals, hit engineering. So his minimum acceptable amount is 86.45 K ohms. Now we're going to go back up here, leave everything in, just get rid of the subtraction, hit plus sign, insert the plus sign, hit equals, hit engineering, and he can be as high as 95.55 K ohms. Okay, resistor F. His first color is brown, so that tells me to punch in a number 1. His second color is black, so that tells me his second number is 0. Third stripe is black again, multiplier band, so that's no zeros, so he is just a 10 ohm resistor. No metric prefix. His tolerance band is gold, so that's 5%. What is 5% of 10 point? Let's see, so we'll do times 0.05, and that's basically half of an ohm. If we hit engineering, it tells us that it is 500 milliohms. Putting it in metric prefix, 500 milliohms. Now scroll to the left here, remove everything except for the 10, hit subtract. 500 times 10 to the negative third, which is 500 milliohms, equals 9.5. So he can be as high as his low range would be 9.5 ohms. And scroll over, remove the subtraction, hit the plus, and his high value would be 10.5 ohms. So he can be as low as 9.5, as high as 10.5. Resistor G. First color is brown, so that's a 1. Second color is gray, so that's an 8. Third color is green, so he gets 5 zeros. Big number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit equals, hit engineering. So he is a 1.8 mega ohm resistor. Times 10 to the 6 is mega. So he's a 1.8 or 1.8 million ohm resistor. And his fourth band is silver, telling us he has a 10% tolerance. What is 10% of that number? Just scroll up, times 0.1, which is 10%, hit equals, hit engineering. So his tolerance amount is 180 k ohms. So now we're going to scroll to the left, and we're going to subtract 180 times 10 to the third equals, hit engineering, 1.62 times 10 to the sixth. So he can be as low as 1.62 mega. Scroll to the left. Don't get rid of anything. Just go to the middle, remove the subtraction, insert the addition, hit equals, hit engineering, and he can be as high as 1.98 mega ohm. So I'm going to start moving faster, and I'm going to show you how you can speed up or slow down this video in YouTube. So anytime you're watching a video in YouTube and you want to slow it down or speed it up, here's a video of mine, a different video. You go to this gear wheel right here, you click on it, it says playback speed, and you can go slower or faster, all the way up to double speed. So if I'm going too fast or too slow for you in any of my videos, you can speed them up or slow them down. Okay, next up is H. Alright, first stripe is brown, which is number 1. Second stripe is green, which is number 5. Third stripe is multiplier, so he gets 2 zeros, 0, 0. We're going to hit equals, hit engineering. He is a 1.5 k ohm resistor. Tolerance percentage, he doesn't have a fourth band. He only has 3 bands. So if he only has 3, he has none of the fourth band, doesn't have one, so that's 20%. So the tolerance amount, we're going to scroll up here, times 0.2, that's 300 ohms. So scroll around, clear this out, subtract 300. Almost do this one in your head, 1.2 k ohm. You'll add the 300. And he can be as high as 1.8 k. Resistor I, first color is orange, that's a 3. Second color is orange, another 3. Third color is brown, that's 1 0. He's a 330 ohm resistor. He has a silver band, so his percentage is 10%. What is 10% of 330? Hit your left scroll wheel, times 0.1, 33 ohms. So we're going to add, we're going to subtract 33. 297, scroll back up, go over, delete, put your plus in. He can be as low as 297, high as 363. Resistor J. First color is green, that is a 5. Second color is blue, that is a 6. Third stripe is yellow, meaning 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit equals, hit engineering. He is a 560 k ohm resistor. Fourth band is gold with a 5% tolerance. What is 5% of 560 k? So we can go up here and say times 0.05. So that'd be 28 k ohms. Now we're going to subtract the 28 k, clear everything out, minus 28 times 10 to the third. I'm entering it in engineering. So he can be as low as 532k ohms. Scroll up, go over, remove the subtraction, insert the addition, hit engineering. He can be as high as 588k. Resistor K, first stripe is red, that's a 2. Second stripe is red, that's a 2. Third stripe is red, that's 2 zeros. So he's a 2.2k ohm resistor. He's got a gold fourth band, that's plus or minus 5%. So we need to know what is 5% of 2,200. So we say times 0.05 equals, hit engineering. I did something wrong. Scroll back up. Let's try that again. Times 0.05 equals, all right, so his amount is 110 ohms. So scroll up, remove everything, minus 110 equals engineering. So he can be as low as 2.09k. Go up here, remove that, delete that, insert that, hit equals, hit engineering, and it is 2.31 k ohms. Okay, we're going to skip L, and we're on to resistor M. So his first color is green, which is a 5. Second one's brown, which is a 1. Third one's orange, which is 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. Hit equals. Hit engineering. So he is a 51k ohm resistor. And he's got a gold fourth band, so that's plus or minus 5%. So scroll up, times 0.05. He has a tolerance of 2.5. He has a tolerance of 2.55k ohms. Now we will subtract 2.55k ohms, giving us our low tolerance, 48.45k. We will add the 2.55k, giving us 53.55k for the high. Okay, resistor N. First color is blue, which is a 6. Second color is gray, which is an 8. Third color is brown, which is 10. So he's a 680 ohm resistor with a 5% tolerance. What is 5% of 680? So we're going to scroll up, times 0.05, 34. So we're going to subtract 34 from 680, giving us 646. Then we're going to add 34 to 680, giving us 719. Going to skip O, going on to P. Resistor P. Its first color is brown, which is a 1. Second color is black, which is a 0. His third color is red, which is 2 zeros. So he is a 1k ohm resistor, 1k ohm, with a 5% tolerance. And what is 5% of 1,000? Well, 10% would be 100. So I'm going to say that is 50. Yes. So I take the 50 ohms and I add it to the 1,000, and that gives me 900. Subtract it. That gives me 950 ohms. I take the 50 ohms and I add it to the 1K, and that gives me 1.05K. Okay, resistor Q. The first color is brown, so that's a 1. Second color is black, which is a 0. Third color is orange, so that's 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. Hit equals, hit engineering. That is a 10k ohm resistor. And he has a silver stripe, so that's plus or minus 10%. 10% of 10k would be 1k. So I'm going to subtract 1k from 10k, gives me 9k. I'm going to add 1K to 10K, and that's going to give me 11K. So as low as 9, high as 11. Okay. Resistor R. Looking at resistor R, first color is yellow, so that's a 4. Second color is violet, so that's a 7. Third color is red, so that's 2 zeros. So he is a 4.7K ohm resistor with a plus or minus 5% tolerance. This one I cannot do in my head, so go to the left, times 0.05, 235 ohms of tolerance. We'll scroll up here, clear this out, minus the 235 equals, hit engineering, so he's a 4.465. So here we're going to do our rounding, which would be 4.47 K ohm. Now we will add it to get our high, and he would be a 4.94 K ohm resistor. And that is how you use the resistor color code to calculate the value of 4-band resistors to complete the resistor math handout.